Speaker. My question is to the President of the Treasury Board. Yesterday, Harold Brief from Toronto wrote a letter to the editor of the Globe and Mail, and he wrote, and I quote, "As a trustee in bankruptcy, I often had individuals say to me that they would not sleep at night because of the debt that they were carrying." So I wonder how Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne and Finance Minister Charles Sousa can sleep at night when they look at the province's debt load. My question to the Treasury Board President, how do you Liberals sleep at night knowing that the debt that you are leaving behind for our children and grandchildren is growing each and every year you're in office?
Thank you. President.
Yes, thank you very much. And I need to tell you, Speaker, that I'm very proud of this year's budget. That because of our careful investments in the province over the last year, at the same time that we were reducing the deficit, we have a budget that's balanced. And as part of that budget that is balanced, we've been able to demonstrate more growth than any other jurisdiction in the G7. Our growth outstrips that. And that's why I am confident that now that we have turned the corner on the debt-to-GDP ratio, that over the years we will in fact be paying down the debt, because any debt that we incur in the future with our balanced budget is going into capital, Minister.
Wrap-up sentence.
And I am very proud of the fact that future borrowing is devoted to investing in our province and building Ontario up.
Supplementary.
Proud. She should be shocked, absolutely shocked, when she hears the Minister of Finance argue that debt is improving in this province. $10 billion worth of debt is not an improvement. $10 billion worth of debt is not an achievement.
Minister
and $10 billion in debt is not an accomplishment, but these Liberals seem to think so, Speaker. So I ask them, where do the Liberals rank adding $10 billion of debt this year onto her list of accomplishments? Is $10 billion worth of debt for our province's grandchildren and children high on your list of achievements?
President.
Finance.
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The member opposite is asking a question about debt. Somehow they think that they are good stewards of managing debt. Well, let me give you a lesson, Mr. Speaker. During their time in office, during the good times of economic prosperity, they increased debt by 53%, Mr. Speaker. They didn't reduce debt. The member's leader, when he was in power, during a Conservative federal government, had the highest deficit in Canada's history of $55 billion in 1 year, Mr. Speaker. They doubled debt when they were in office federally. So we're not going to take any lessons from this member or anybody on that side of the House who are not managing fiscally responsibly the issue of investing in our economy, investing in schools, providing free Medicare for our children, and providing kindergarten, all-day kindergarten, Mr. Speaker, and free tuition. What will you cut?
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. We're now going to warnings. Final supplementary.
Here it's laughable that this government thinks that they are good stewards of the economy after 10 years of deficits and 10 years of waste, mismanagement and scandal. This minister himself is sitting in this place because of a $1.2 billion gas plant scandal. That's what I remember, and I also want to defend Mike Harris. 1 million jobs were created under his administration, not like the 300,000 that were lost under this government. And that $12 billion a year in interest payments is $1 billion a month. But instead, they are crowding frontline services to pay for their scandals.
Minister of Economic Development and Growth is warned. Please.
Simply put, we're paying for their cancelled gas plants. We're crowding out frontline services. We're paying for upside-down bridges, and we are still paying for those scandals that happened at eHealth and OHIP.
Question.
Mr. Speaker, why do the Liberals refuse to introduce a credible plan to pay down the debt and ensure that we don't have a rolling deficit like they're hiding right now.
Thank you. The member will withdraw.
Withdrawn.
Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, we have 700,000 net new jobs since the depth of the recession, recovering all those that were lost. We are outpacing Canada, the G7 in the United States in economic growth, Mr. Speaker. It's well regarded around the world in terms of what Ontario is offering. We are sought after by investors, topping the foreign direct investment of any other nation in and around the world, especially in North America. We are the leanest government, for that matter, Mr. Speaker, lower cost than any government in Canada and federally. And, Mr. Speaker, we have the lowest interest on debt compared to any other time in history of this government, of this province. Certainly lower than 15–16% when the Conservatives were in power, lower when the NDP was in power at 12%, Mr. Speaker. We're locking those rates over long term. But the first way to address debt, Mr. Speaker, is to balance the books. We're balancing this year, next year, and the year after that, and we're lowering debt to GDP over the long term.